Bonjour tout le monde.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I now officially call this meeting to order. Welcome to this meeting of the Standing Committee on Public Safety and National Security. Pursuant to Section 108.2 of the Rules of Order and the motion adopted on September 25th, the committee is meeting to continue its study on the mandate and responsibilities of the Minister of Public Safety. Thank you, Mr. Minister. Today's meeting is taking place in a hybrid format pursuant to the standing orders. Members can either attend in person or via Zoom. I would now like to welcome our guests. There are many of them, and they are all important. Let's begin with the Honourable Gary Anandasangari, who is a Member of Parliament and Minister of Public Safety. Ms. Erin O'Gorman, the President of the Canada Border Services Agency. Danielle Rogers, Director of the Canadian Security Intelligence Services. Anne Kelly, Commissioner of the Correctional Service of Canada. Tricia Geddes, Deputy Minister of the Department of Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness. Joanne Blanchard, Chairperson of the Parole Board of Canada. And Michael Duhem, the Commissioner of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. You are all welcome, and let us begin with you, Mr. Minister. You have 5 minutes for your statement.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, colleagues.
Acknowledging that we're gathered on the unceded traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin people. And let me just acknowledge and thank the officials that are here today who have been acknowledged by you, Mr. Chair. I also want to acknowledge Talal Dalabad, who is his Senior Associate Deputy Minister at Public Safety. And I want to thank all the members here for this invitation. As the Minister of Public Safety, I'm focused on ensuring the safety and security of our country and all Canadians. I've been clear that enhancing our border security and tackling cross-border crime are among my top priorities. Yesterday, I introduced important legislation, Bill C-12, that will help tackle these two challenges. Il s'agit de la plus récente.
This is the latest step we have taken in making our border stronger and more secure, while ensuring the efficient flow of legitimate travel and trade that is crucial to our economy.
Of $1.3 billion, Canada's border plan delivers concrete actions to further strengthen border security, disrupt the illicit fentanyl trade, improve operational coordination, expand information sharing, and minimize unnecessary border volumes. We have enhanced security at ports of entry and between them, increased surveillance via drones, towers, helicopters, and other resources to allow 24/7 surveillance. Under our border plan, there has been a 99% reduction in illegal southbound movement from Canada to the U.S. since June 2024. This demonstrates real success in determining illegal cross-border movement. Further, the CBSA has increased its removals of inadmissible people from Canada. In 2024, CBSA also intercepted 2,277 vehicles stolen in rail yards and ports. Between January and the end of May this year, CBSA intercepted an additional 666 stolen vehicles. These are just some of the positive results from our National Action Plan on combating auto theft. In 2025, auto thefts continue to decline nationally, with a 19% decrease reported in the first half of this year. This progress comes through collaboration with our federal, provincial, territorial, Indigenous, and law enforcement partners, as well as police of jurisdiction. For example, the appointment of a fentanyl czar, as well as the creation of a joint operational intelligence cell, has resulted in better coordination on disrupting the fentanyl trade. In September, I met with my Five Eyes counterpart in the United Kingdom to discuss passing pressing border and national security issues. And next month, I will be welcoming our G7 partners to an Interior Ministers meeting in Ottawa to continue the conversation on these important themes. With the increasing sophistication and borderless nature of transnational organized crime, cybercrime, migrant smuggling, and illegal synthetic drugs, the G7 meeting will provide Canada with an opportunity to showcase our efforts and signal the importance of multilateral cooperation. Chaque personne, quelle que soit son identité, mérite.
Everyone, regardless of their identity, deserves to feel safe in Canada. But we have all seen a concerning rise in hate in Canada.
Along with the Senior Deputy Commissioner of the RCMP, Brian Larkin, I met with community representatives from across Canada. They told me that they are concerned for their safety and they expect tangible action from all levels of government and law enforcement. And I want to highlight one success story, the Canada Community Security Program. Since 2007, the Government of Canada has invested over $40 million in more than 950 projects to help communities at risk of hate-motivated crimes that further enhance the security of their gathering spaces, such as synagogues and mosques. You cannot be serious about crime unless you're serious about guns. The Assault-Style Firearms Compensation Program is another important piece of our government's comprehensive approach to combating gun violence. It is working. So far, the Business Buyback Program has removed over 12,000 firearms from our communities, with over $22 million in compensation. We're now implementing the program for individuals, beginning with a pilot project in Cape Breton that will later be expanded nationwide. This will help us get even more guns off our streets and protect Canadians.
Mr. Minister, maybe we can come to a conclusion?
I will. Mr. Chair, I look forward to the conversation today, and I want to thank you and your colleagues for this invitation. Merci.
Thank you for having accepted this invitation. We will now turn to questions and comments on the part of members of Parliament, starting with MP Caputo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I asked these questions through the Chair, and before that, I do thank you for attending, Minister, with all of your colleagues. Through the Chair, I ask the following questions. Minister, 600 foreign nationals were set to be deported. 70% of them committed violent crimes, including sex assaults. Where are they?
Thank you, Mr. Caputo. Thank you for that question. As you're aware, the Canada Border Services Agency is tasked with removals of those who are deemed to be
Minister, I'm sorry, we don't need a preamble. We just need an answer. Where are the 600 people who were set to be deported? Maybe I'll ask this way. Do you know where they are? Yes or no?
Mr. Chair, if I may respond to this question in whole. So, as you're aware, the CBSA is tasked with the removal of those who are inadmissible to Canada. In this particular case, we have been ensuring that removals have been taking place at an unprecedented rate.
I asked about the 600 people, Minister. I didn't ask about removals at an unprecedented rate. Do you know where they are? Yes or no?
Well, there is a set of
I'll take that as a no, Minister. Let's move on.
Let's be clear, Mr. Caputo. There are a number of individuals who are in the process of being removed. So of the 600 you talk about, there is a breakdown, and I'd like to invite Ms. Gorman to respond to this.
You are the Minister. You are the expert. The Globe and Mail reported 600 people are missing. You're the Minister. You're expected to know this. The buck stops with you. We have 6 minutes. You don't know. Let's move on. You promised 1,000 new border officers for the CBSA. How many have been hired?
So right now, as you're aware, we are in the process of ensuring that the 1,000 new CBSA officers will be trained appropriately.
Again, Minister, you're answering questions I'm not asking. I asked how many were hired. Simple number.
Mr. Caputo, I'm not here for your TikTok videos, okay? Like I'm here to.
No, and Minister, I'm here to answer.
I'm here to answer questions.
Mr. Minister, let's just these conversations are important, but they need to be understandable, including through interpretation. So I have some tolerance to bilateral interactions, which is fine. That can, in some cases, that can in some cases speed up and increase the efficiency of the conversation. But if it leads to people not being able to understand the flow of the conversation, I'll have to intervene.
I'll commence. First of all, TikTok is banned in Canada. Second, I don't have an account. I'm here for Canadians. I'm here for answers. You can obfuscate. I will continue to press forward. RCMP didn't know how many of the 1,000 officers that they promised were hired. Just a number. How many?
So I will invite the RCMP Commissioner
I want to hear it from you,
answer
Minister.
this
From
question.
you, Minister.
But I'm not responsible for hiring of the officers.
You're not. I beg your pardon. You are the minister.
I'm sorry. This is not useful because it is obviously impossible for anyone listening to the interpretation to understand the flow of the conversation. So, and again, we want to have a dense, a speedy, content-full conversation, but it has to be understandable. So please, let's make sure that this is happening.
Mr. Chair, I'll be very clear. I'm asking the minister these questions. The buck stops with him. I'm not asking for him to defer to anybody. If he doesn't know the answer, just say it. Just the other day on a recording, he said, "Don't ask me to explain the logic to you." He was perfectly capable of saying it then. He's capable of saying it now. Minister, do you know the number of the 1,000 promised RCMP officers? Yes or no?
Speaker, the RCMP are preparing to hire 1,000, including ensuring that training facilities at depot are equipped, because this will be solely for federal policing, and the work at depot to ensure that the right modules, the right level of training is in place is currently being prepared, and as soon as they're able to recruit, they will be hired and they will be on our streets.
Okay, that is a zero, I take it then, because you wouldn't give us a number. Now, Mr., you said in leaked audio that the gun buyback wouldn't work. Do you stand by that?
That is not what I said, Mr. Caputo.
Well, you could have fooled me, Minister. You actually said, quote, don't ask me to explain the logic to you. You talked about how it's only been 3 weeks on the job. I'm not an expert on this, right? I'm not an expert. The tone that you said was that this wouldn't work. It was being done for politics. Do you stand by that, yes or no?
That is not correct.
Do you believe that the buyback will work?
The buyback is right now being implemented. There's a pilot right now in Cape Breton.
That is not what I asked.
Mr. Chair, I would like I think the fair way to do this is that I get adequate time to respond to questions posed. So if I may, the buyback program is currently being implemented. There's a pilot right now in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. From all accounts, the registration appears to be going well. We are ironing out any logistical issues that may arise.
Okay. That registration,
the program will be expanded
let's talk
across
about that.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. Point
Yes.
of order. I'm sorry to disrupt, but I really want to hear the answer, whether answer is that you like or not, but I want to learn, and I have the same right as any other members here and the people who are watching. So I appreciate if you can leave the time. And plus, I want to add, Mr. Chair, that TikTok is not banned in Canada. It's available on the app stores. Thank you.
That is...
Mr. Chair, I'm asking questions here. This is my time. This is Canadians' time. Mr. Chair, I will not be interrupted.
Your time has stopped, Mr. Caputo, so what I'm going to say is not going to reduce your time available. But I think the point is that we want the conversations to be again dense, to be as forthcoming and as useful as they can be, but they cannot overlap. So if I hear two people speak at the same time, it must be impossible for interpreters to do their job.
Mr. Chair, I will reclaim my time, Canadians' time, when the minister is going on and on for speaking. I understand the Liberals want to protect the Liberal minister. I'm not here for that. I'm here for answers. Let's keep going here. You spoke about Cape Breton Island. Now, there is a chief who is the brother-in-law to a Liberal MP on Cape Breton Island. Did you speak with that chief in respect of this buyback? Just a yes or no, please.
As you know, the Mass Casualty Commission report...
That's not what I asked, Minister. I asked whether you spoke with a chief.
Mr. Chair, I would like the opportunity to respond. The Mass Casualty Commission report indicated that governments need to do everything in their powers to
I
ensure that
asked whether you
assault
spoke.
Mr.
style-
Caputo,
Point
I'm
of
sorry,
order,
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Chair.
Mr. Chair, he
No,
doesn't
no,
get to
no.
talk out the clock. He has to answer.
I'm
I asked
sorry,
whether he
I'm
spoke
sorry,
with the
I'm
chief
sorry.
chair. That's it. He doesn't get to talk
I'm
about
sorry
turkey
to- no,
basters
no,
or
no.
whatever we're going to talk about here. He has to speak about the questions he's given, and I won't stand for this as somebody representing Canadians to let him talk out the clock. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair,
Point
but
of
I won't
order,
do that.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Isasi?
I would like to remind Mr. Caputo that we all represent Canadians around this table, and it's important for us to actually have an opportunity to hear from the minister. This session is not just for theatrics. All of us here want to listen from the minister, have a better appreciation of what is being done. So I'd appreciate it if Mr. Caputo would kindly provide the minister the necessary time to provide comprehensive responses. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You have another 10 seconds, Mr. Caputo.
Did you speak with that chief, yes or no?
Mr. Chair, the Mass Casualty Commission report in Nova Scotia indicated that governments need to do everything in their powers to get assault
You
style
spoke with a
firearms off
Liberal
the street.
insider.
That's
who
it.
didn't tell
Thank you
us?
so much for the first. There'll be other rounds. So let me turn to MP Esassi for 6 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. First of all, given that you were interrupted repeatedly, Minister, is there anything else that you would like to add to what you've previously stated?
Sure, and thank you, Mr. Sassi, for that question. And let me just start by talking about the 600 individuals in question that are the subject of removal. So CBSA has removed more people last year than many years ago. So over 20,000 people are in the inventory to be removed this year. Over 18,000 were removed last year. So far this year, we've removed more than 500 people with serious inadmissibility or criminality. CBSA prioritizes those who have served sentences for the most violent offenses. 600 people that is cited, CBSA has closed since closed 41 of those specific warrants. Furthermore, 61 of those 500 continue to serve sentences for convictions that are the subject of the removal. 48% of those people have been charged with minor nonviolent offenders. So of the 600, about 48, about half of them have been charged with minor non-violent offenses, and this includes mischief, failing to comply with conditions. This does not pose a danger to Canadians. To be clear, CBSA is looking for them. They have warrants for them, and we will continue to enforce.
Thank you very much, Minister. And judging by the legislation that is coming before the House, you are certainly keeping very, very busy. Thank you for that, and thank you also to your officials. I was wondering if I could start off with, you noted in your opening remarks that we have experienced a 99% reduction in goods, I believe fentanyl, going from our border to the States. That's a very significant number. It's one I had not heard previously. I was wondering if you could kindly elaborate on that.
I believe I was speaking about movement of people south of the border, or irregular movement of people south of the border. But let me just take this opportunity to talk about fentanyl. As you're aware, the assertions made by the President of the United States relating to fentanyl previously is not consistent with the impacts that we've seen. First and foremost, we know that fentanyl impacts all Canadians. Every single community in Canada is impacted by it. I'm personally impacted by it through someone I've known for many years who passed away. And it is a scourge of fentanyl that's impacting North America as a whole. So the assertions made by the President in terms of fentanyl going to the United States via Canada is categorically incorrect. Notwithstanding that we've made some incredible, I would say once-in-a-lifetime investments in border security, including $1.3 billion towards Black Hawk helicopters, including drones, including other towers that will ensure that measures to curtail the flow of fentanyl in both directions is contained. Bill C-12 that we introduced yesterday will, again, give additional tools to law enforcement to attack fentanyl on all directions, including those coming overseas, as well as the precursors. As well as the 1,000 new RCMP CBSA officers will ensure that our 10,000 plus personnel at the border is strengthened even further. I do want to note a couple of days ago, the president said but fentanyl, no, it's not over. I think it's never going to be over, frankly. But they've done, and as Canada's worked hard, and they've done a much better job than in the past. So it's a reflection, I think, of where the sentiment is. May not be accurate because we don't believe that fentanyl has been going from Canada.
Thank you. That's great progress. If I could also ask you about car theft. I understand that the numbers are down approximately 30% in the course of the last year, but I come from a riding where this has been quite a challenge. And I have heard from experts that as we see greater cooperation between various provincial jurisdictions and the federal government, that these numbers will improve. Could you perhaps comment on that as well, just to assure people in cities such as Toronto that car theft hopefully will be going drastically down?
Look, as you recall, we had a summit last year on combating car thefts, and I cited a number of examples of where CBSA has been intercepting items that are leaving Canada, including vehicles, some 2,000 odd vehicles last year, over 600 in the first quarter or so of this year. It does indicate a downward trend. So overall in Canada, the drop in car thefts is about 19%. In specific regions, including Toronto, it's much, much higher. We are seeing the level of cooperation that we have with local police of jurisdiction, including Chief Demkew, who's our mutual chief for the City of Toronto, and their leadership actually working. And we will continue to do more. Bill C-12 is another example of where that can be very helpful.
Sorry, that's all the time we had for that particular round. Let me turn to Madame de Bellefeuille pour 6 minutes, Madame de Bellefeuille.
Minister, do you need your headset? Can you hear the interpretation? I want to make sure that I won't lose any of my time. If you can't understand me, everything is okay? Very good. So, Minister, my reputation is that I'm quite kind but impatient. So I would like to have succinct answers if possible. I will be speaking slowly so that the interpreter can follow me well. As you know, our border is quite porous. There is a lack of RCMP officers. We've heard a number of witnesses tell us that. There are also CBSA agents who are needed on the direct line of the border. You say, we're looking for solutions, we are hiring people, but it takes time to recruit people, and it'll be a while before the new agents are up and running. So I wonder why you resist the idea that the CBSA agents who are on the border can go between the border posts. It's easy for you. All you would have to do is change a regulation. So just this week, we heard from the chair, or the president of the CBSA said that if they see a migrant walk by between posts, they can't intervene. They have to call the RCMP, but it can take up to 4 to 6 hours for the RCMP to get there in a rural area, because, I mean, it's kind of obvious that you don't really cross a border in the middle of Toronto. You'd go in a forest in a rural area. So why do you resist giving the border agents the mandate of patrolling and intercepting along the border while they wait for the RCMP?
Merci pour la question, Madame.
Thank you for the question, Ms. de Bellefeuille. It's an important question.
Outset, say that the functions of both the RCMP and CBSA are distinct, and they have different sets of responsibilities.
So yes, we know that the RCMP has its mandate and the CBSA has its mandate. We know that. And we know that they cooperate. But right now, it would be possible for you to adopt a regulation to authorize border agents to patrol and to cooperate better with the RCMP. You can do that. You have that power. And why are we resisting that?
Let me just say that, the functions of both institutions are very different. The RCMP has a very particular function for federal policing. CBSA is at the border.
Monsieur le ministre, je m'excuse.
Minister, I'm sorry. Please forgive me, but I know already what you are saying. What I'm telling you is that it's possible to change things. If you want to improve and optimize the way things work, you have to change things. And I'm telling you that it's possible. Because if the border agents have the power to intercept while they await the RCMP's arrival, that improves cooperation. And if we are in a context where human resources are lacking, then we have to optimize the way things work, and you have the power to change things by adopting a regulation, and that's easy. What I don't understand is why you are closed off to that idea that border agents could have new powers. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to ask you a very simple question. You said we are going to hire 1,000 additional border agents over 3 years. So that's about 330 agents more than you are training right now. I would like to hear, frankly and sincerely, whether the 1,000 agents that the CBSA is going to hire, will they follow the 18-week training that is comparable to the one in Rigaud with weapons handling? Will they be able to intervene directly on the border? Can you tell me today that between now and 3 years, 1,000 new agents will have had that training?
To elaborate.
Non, là, je m'excuse. Excusez, Madame Gorman.
No, I'm sorry, Ms. Gorman. Really, we will have an opportunity to speak later at another meeting. But I can tell you now that mathematically speaking, it is impossible for you to be able to hire 330 agents more a year, in addition to the 572 agents that you are training at Rigaud, because you don't have the infrastructure, you don't have the instructors. It's impossible. So I will tell you, Mr. Minister, what I think is that the agency is going to provide the agents, but they will not have had the 18-week training. They will not be able to act directly along the border. It's impossible. Unless you were to tell me today that in Chilliwack, you will open up another training center that would make it possible for you to give full training, 18 weeks long, to the new agents. Is that what you're telling me?
Madam Deputy, that when we hire the 1,000 new CBSA officers, they will be trained. They'll be trained with the 18-week, if not more, requirements, and they will be absolutely ready to do the job on day one.
Monsieur le ministre, non, mais c'est bien, vous m'avez répondu.
No, yes, very good. You did answer my question. Ms. Bellefeuille, yes, right. What I was saying about the interpretation from English to French is the same for the French to English, because if people are speaking at the same time, it's very hard for the interpreter to understand, or to hear. So we really do have to ensure that we understand each other very well in both languages. So you have 40 seconds left. Yes, Minister, I am happy that you have confirmed that all of the hired agents will have the training that is comparable to the 18-week training. They'll be able to handle weapons and they'll be able to intervene directly on the border. But I would like you to tell me how you're going to train them. Which infrastructure are you going to use? Because it doesn't exist right now. So will the Chilliwack project take place? Because you had the $20 million that were claimed to open up a new training center.
Madam Deputy, I would say that neither you nor I are experts with respect to training. That's what we have the President here. I would like to invite her to elaborate on the plan that she has, including which facilities to use. So if you want to, I think, hear a more wholesome answer with
Ça va devoir attendre la prochaine ronde.
It's going to have to wait for the next round of questions, because now we will be giving the floor to Member Lloyd for 5 minutes.
I appreciate you talking about the rise in hate in Canada and the meetings that you said you've had with synagogues and mosque communities. Are you aware that 123 churches have been burned, vandalized, or desecrated in the last 4 years in Canada?
Mr. Lloyd, I'm aware that a number of places of worship, including churches, have been vandalized, yes.
Have you met with any of those congregations, Minister?
I have not met with those specific congregations, but I have met with many members of different church and faith groups.
You haven't met with any of the members of the congregations in Canada, churches that have been subject to hate crimes over the last 4 years in this country?
I have not, no.
Is it because hate crimes against Christians aren't a priority for this government, Minister?
That's absolutely incorrect.
Well, you said you met with synagogues and mosques, which I do appreciate. Those communities need your support, Minister, but Christian communities also need your support. Why have you not met with any of those communities, Minister?
Well, I can tell you that I meet with faith leaders. I meet with Christian leaders across Canada all the time.
Thank you.
I've met with...
I'm going to move on to the next question. There have been allegations made that there was an Antifa member who threw smoke bombs into a church service in Montreal this past summer. The allegations are that they're a government employee that work on a military base outside of Montreal. Are you aware of these allegations, and are they being investigated?
Allegations such as that are investigated by the police of jurisdiction, so that in this case it would be the City of Montreal Police.
Considering that this is a potential terrorism case, does this concern you? Are you at all concerned about potentially a government employee being a member of an organization like Antifa and committing a crime like throwing smoke bombs in a church service?
I'm concerned at every incidence of hate at any place, including churches, and certainly if the allegation involves government employees, that makes me more concerned.
Minister, prominent members of your caucus have called for the banning of the SKS. These are hunting rifles that are used by Indigenous people and many others. Can you confirm to this committee, yes or no, is your government planning on banning the SKS?
No. But what I can say is that the expert panel is tasked to come up with recommendations.
To clarify, are you saying no, we can't confirm, or no, you are not banning the SKS?
No, we're not.
Okay. Minister, only a third of the $750 million that you're planning on spending on this gun confiscation is for compensating firearms owners. This number is estimated to be well short of the amount that's needed. If you continue on and compensate all these firearm owners, it's going to be well over $1 billion. How can you justify that expense when we've been told by the Customs and Immigration Union that we only have 300 CBSA officers who are at the borders and removing potentially violent criminals from Canada? How can you justify that expense?
I think that number is incorrect with respect to CBSA, and I can ask Ms. O'Gorman if you wish to clarify
I'll move
that.
on to the next question. Thank you, Minister. Minister, trappers, foresters, biologists, Ms. O'Gorman, if you could provide that in writing to this committee at a later time, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you. Trappers, foresters, biologists, and other wilderness workers require protection from dangerous animals like cougars and bears. Minister, do you believe that these individuals should be able to carry handguns for their personal protection?
They should be able to carry the right type of equipment to do their job that is in line with Canadian law.
So these professionals, they do have to carry a lot of equipment into the wilderness. They can't just carry a rifle. It can be very heavy with all their other equipment. A sidearm is necessary for their safety. Do you support their right to do this?
I support their right to be equipped with the right type of tools that they need to do their job effectively and safely in line with Canadian law.
Does that include a handgun when necessary?
Again, I will repeat what I said, Mr. Lloyd.
Are you aware of what an authorization to carry is, Minister?
Yes, I am.
Are you aware what it takes to get an authorization to carry in Canada?
Yes, I am.
What is required to get an authorization to carry?
What will be required is a course that will ensure that they're properly trained in carrying the said type of firearm.
Yes, a proof of proficiency test. I'm pleased that you understand that, Minister. Minister, since your government brought in the handgun freeze, it's now become impossible for anyone to transfer or purchase a handgun. So how do you expect people to pass a proficiency test if they can never get access to a handgun?
Well, listen, these, as you're aware, this legislation was brought in as part of Bill C-21 and previously through a number of orders and councils. To date, we believe that the program is working well.
These members cannot get their proficiency test because of C-21. You're asking these people to go on their trap lines, to go into the forest without the proper equipment that they need. Do you commit to fixing this, Minister? Because you're putting these people's lives at risk because they can't access handguns because your government, in a reckless ideological decision, completely banned the transfer of handguns. So people cannot get their authorizations to carry. They cannot get their proficiency tests. What are you going to do to fix this, Minister?
Unfortunately, the time is over. There might be an opportunity to engage further the Minister on the topic, which leads me to turn to MP Akan for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome, Minister. Thank you for being with us today. So, during the summer, I had multiple opportunities to consult with local law enforcement, the heroes of the Halton Regional Police Services, who, as an aside, are looking forward to welcoming you in my riding of Oakville West soon. So, I did consult with them on legislation being tabled by our government, specifically C2. Minister, can you elaborate on support this bill has received from the support that for this bill that received from the law enforcement agencies across Canada and how it strengthens their ability to combat organized crime and secure our borders?
Thank you, MP Akan, for that very important question. Let me just acknowledge, I believe there's members of Halton Regional Police that are here today. I had a chance to meet some of them a couple of weeks ago at the Police Memorial in Ottawa, and I look forward to seeing them very shortly. And Halton Region plays a very important role in police play a very important role in ensuring the safety and security of Canadians. I have heard from police chiefs, chiefs of police, associations representing police unions, as well as police chiefs as well, including the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police, on the need to have enhanced tools to combat crime. And the major tool for them is what's called lawful access. So lawful access is regime that enables law enforcement to access specific types of information for cause and with the different levels of judicial scrutiny to be able to combat crime, particularly around the use of the internet, use of cell phones, use of other electronic devices. Canada is the only Five Eyes country that does not have a lawful access regime, and C2 tries to address that, and I would admit imperfectly, and I have had some conversations since the introduction of C12 yesterday with a number of police chiefs as well as union heads who are deeply disappointed that C12 does not have those measures in place. And my undertaking to them and my commitment to them, as I said yesterday at the press conference, is that we will work with law enforcement and we will work with all parties to ensure that a lawful access regime that is in line with charter principles will be passed by this House, and that's a commitment I still make today.
Thank you very much, Minister. So, you pretty much answered my next question, but a little bit more in detail. Frontline officers are often the first to respond to crime and community safety concerns. So could you please speak to how insights and experiences that have been collected through consultations, including the ones that our respective offices have been working together on and are being incorporated into decision-making process, particularly in the development of the legislations C2 and, as you mentioned now, the C12 for broader public safety strategies. Also, can you elaborate on the current situation with the bill C2 and C12?
That C12 was introduced, it has every element that's in C2, save and except lawful access, issues around postal delivery and searches, and money laundering of $10,000. So those, except those three elements, C2 and C12 are very similar legislations with identical provisions. We were informed by a lot of stakeholder engagement, including from law enforcement in developing Bill C2 and subsequently Bill C12. We've also spoken to a number of civil liberties groups, academics, experts in their fields, the legal community, and felt that C12 better represents consensus within Parliament right now, with the expectation that we can move that along at a faster pace than C2. Having said that, the three elements that are left out of C2 and C12 will continue to be in C2, and we're hopeful that with the right type of amendments and proposals, we'll be able to advance that at a later date.
Thank you very much, Minister. So in my community of Oakville West...
Madame Lacan, I'm sorry, I'll have to interrupt you,
Thank you.
again. Ce qui m'amène à passer la parole à Madame de Bellefeuille.
And that leads me to give the floor to Madame de Bellefeuille for 2.5 minutes. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Minister, will you ban the purchase and sale of SKS rifles?
Thank you, Madam Deputy, for the question. The determination about the SKS is with an expert committee, expert panel, that is with law enforcement, and it is up to law enforcement to make their recommendation. At this point, there is no recommendation.
Je m'excuse, Monsieur le Ministre. Je pense, Monsieur le
I'm
Président.
sorry, Minister. I think, Mr. Chair, my question was fairly simple. Will you ban the purchase of SKS and ban the sale as well? Because this is a request that was made. There's even a member within your party who's requesting or who's asking this, and I'm asking you whether you will ban the purchase and sale of SKS. It's a simple question, and I want a clear answer. I think it's for a question from the Minister.
It will be informed by recommendations from the expert panel.
Parfait. Merci beaucoup.
All right. Thank you very much. So for the rest of my time, what I'd like to talk about is foreign interference. There was a bill, Act 70 or Bill 70 that has been around for a year now, and there's still no office of the Commissioner of Foreign Interference, and there's no commissioner, and there's no registry of foreign actors. So how can you explain how slowly things are going bureaucratically and administratively? The act was adopted, and that is not enough to stop foreign interference. So when will there be a commissioner? When will there be an office for the commissioner? And when will there be a registry?
Thank you for the question. It's a very important question. And let me say yes to all three of those questions that you posed. Yes, there will be a commissioner. Yes, there will be resource and the office will be up and running.
Ben, Monsieur le Ministre, la loi vous l'oblige.
Yes, but you are forced under the act. The question is when.
If, so I will get to the when. With respect to the commissioner, I was expecting to have names available to the
Unfortunately,
official parties.
I will have to stop this conversation and to turn to MP Curtin for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, now I'm on. Thank you, Chair, through you. And again, I will be respectful, but I will ask, Minister, if you could be as succinct as possible, because I have a lot I have to get through and a lot that I want Canadians to hear from you. I just want to pick up on what the last question was, because there seems to be a bit of a contradiction. So you have mentioned to my colleague that you would not ban the SKS. However, it's still under review whether you would ban the purchase and sale of the SKS. Can you please clarify?
Sure. At this point, there is no plan to ban the SKS. Okay, there's no. But however, the expert panel, there is an expert panel, as you're aware, as part of Bill C-21, that will, that if they do recommend movement on it, then we will make.
Okay, so this isn't a permanent promise. This is just a for now promise that we're not banning the SKS for now.
The commitment that I've made is that there's 2,500 prohibited firearms as part of the 3 sets of orders in council that are the subject of the buyback program. So those will.
Okay,
will
I'm going to
continue
move on because I
implemented.
I just wanted to clarify that, and then I'm going to move on because I want to touch on a few things that have already been said. 600 foreign nationals, they've committed violent crimes, I believe, in Canada, and they're missing. You could not say where they are. Do you know where one of them is?
Yeah, I can tell you there's 61 of them that are currently serving time.
61?
61.
I'm talking
40,
about the 600 that we don't know where they are. They're lost. So of the 600 that are lost, that we don't know where they are, do we have a clue on 1, 2, 3, 10? What's the number that we know where they are now of those 600?
Madam Kirkland, 61 of them are in detention, are serving time right now. 41 of them, their warrants, they're no longer, the warrants have been closed. 48% of the 600 are not have not committed a violent offense or have not, so there
Okay.
are offenses like mischief, failing to comply, and so on.
So we're still looking. We're still looking
we're
for
still
them.
we're
Okay.
still
So,
trying to locate them. Yes.
Safety is of utmost priority. You are the public safety minister. It is your job to keep the public safe. Would that be correct?
I've indicated from the outset
Yes,
that
that's
is my
correct.
responsibility.
Perfect.
Yes.
So you've mentioned several times that Canadians are lining up to sell their guns back to the government in the gun confiscation plan. Police associations, experts, and even you have admitted that this program won't work. So what I'm curious, you said in your testimony 12,000 firearms have been removed from the streets, and we're talking about guns that kill people. So, of those 12,000, you said they are law-abiding citizens because they've given them back. How many criminals have come forward to sell their guns back? Just a number.
So let me just clarify. The 12,000 that have been returned are part of the business buyback program.
Okay.
So they're business owners, part of the phase one.
Okay,
of
thank
the
you.
program.
That answers that question. Are there any criminals who have lined up to hand you their guns back?
We don't typically do criminal background checks on the returns.
Oh, I see. So do you really believe any criminal will hand over an illegally obtained gun that was used in a crime or that is being planned to use to hurt people? Do you believe it? It's just a simple yes or no?
The compensation program is meant to ensure that over 180,000 prohibited firearms, which includes AR-15s.
I'm sorry, I
are
have to
removed
interrupt,
off
sir.
our streets.
Well,
Sir, you're not
MP
answering the
Kirkland, I'm sorry
question.
I have to interrupt too. Until now, it was going quite smoothly. The interpretation was possible, but now I'm finding that we are entering into a world in which it might become impossible for some to understand the flow of the conversation. So please, let's revert to a smooth and reasonable and useful flow of conversation. Your time has stopped, and you have one more minute.
Okay, for my last minute and 11 seconds, I would like to move on to public safety. Right now, people don't feel safe. More than 51% of Canadians, as reported in this National Post article, do not feel safe in their communities anymore. Right now, Durham Regional Police, Niagara Police, they're now asking us to deal with have a 9 p.m. routine to shut down our lives, lock our doors. Is this really the Canada that you envisioned when you became the public safety minister?
Look, the issues around public safety are critically important to Canadians. It impacts all of our families.
Are they important to you?
Well, I think if you will let me answer the question, Ms. Kirkland, so you posed a question, please give me the courtesy to answer it properly. The issues of public safety are critically important. Every single one of us in this room, every single one of us who ran for office and were elected here have a responsibility towards ensuring the safety and security of all Canadians, and that's what we're doing here. We may have different perspectives on how to approach this, but I can assure you that as a minister, from day one, I've been working to ensure that safety and security of Canadians, whether it's at the border, whether it's
I'm sorry,
making sure
Minister, we'll have to stop here. Ce qui m'amène à passer la parole à Madame la députée.
And now I can give the floor to Ms. Dandurand. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Minister.
Filming content for social media instead of listening to the very comprehensive answers that you're giving, including on those 600 people. So thank you for your very comprehensive answer. And I'm going to give you another chance, please, Minister, as well as Madame O'Gorman, to talk about expanding the powers of CBSA and training. I'm curious to hear the answer about those topics.
Thank you. Maybe I'll invite President O'Gorman, and then I'll follow up.
Sure, thank you. So CBSA will carry out whatever mandate is given to them. The notion of CBSA officers seeing people sneak in to the country and not being able to get them, I'm not sure that's happening on a regular basis. And it was raised here that it's happening in rural areas, and those aren't necessarily near ports of entry. But certainly the constraints of apprehending somebody who is close by are not quite as rigid as maybe is being communicated. Our border officers at our ports of entry are quite busy, and so just if the mandate were to expand, we need them to also continue. So it would be a resourcing issue that we would have to deal with, as well as training. And so our officers are extremely well trained. They're armed. They understand the law. However, patrolling between the ports and applying different laws would require more training of some kind. And I'll just say, finally, the responsiveness of the RCMP, police of jurisdiction in particular, and specifically the RCMP, is extremely high. And so it was mentioned hours to respond if somebody has seen somebody crossing between the ports. That hasn't been my experience. That is not the briefings that myself and my colleague get as we talk regularly about flows of people north and south regularly and irregularly. And so every day, less so, but over the past several years, we have had RCMP officers and other police of jurisdiction bring to CBSA ports of entry people they have apprehended, and we process them from there. So to the extent that we see that happening regularly, I would say the system is working.
Thank you very much. It's very clear. And because you're talking of rural areas, I live in a rural area. I live close to a border as well. Stansted is in my riding. So I'd be curious to hear a bit more about how we can help with immigration. And you were talking about forests. So what are what do we have in place to prevent illegal immigrants from coming through forest and things like that? What are we doing for that?
Thank you, and maybe I'll ask the Commissioner, the RCMP, to offer some commentary on that.
Thank you, Minister. As stated in the opening remarks, there was $1.3 billion that was given for border enforcement, in which the RCMP received $666 million, which we're heavily investing into aerial surveillance and other technology that we can put and deploy across the border. We really want to focus our whole approach on technology and have these rapid response teams that can respond. To your specific question, I think there's when we're talking about public safety, it's a whole community approach. If the people in the community see things, they should be reporting it to the police jurisdiction so they can respond. I think it's unrealistic to think that you can have a physical body on every 100 feet of the border to intercept everything. So we're relying a lot on technology, and we're encouraging people, if they see something, to report it to the local police.
And as part of the border plan, I was able to join actually the Commissioner. We went to the border by a Black Hawk helicopter between President Gorman and the Commissioner. We went to a number of border crossings across Ontario, across BC, as well as Quebec. And I can assure you that both at the border crossings themselves, but also the outside of there, the enforcement is quite strong. Very integrated, very much working in collaboration with U.S. Border Patrol and their agencies as well. And I'm quite impressed and thankful, actually, to the women and men who are in the front lines making sure that Canada is secure and safe.
Merci beaucoup. J'aimerais revenir sur...
Thank you very much. I'd like to come back to the issue of firearms. And obviously, reducing gun violence is of the utmost importance, and there is a lot being done to ensure that. There are a number of hunters in my region who are worried about losing access to the firearms that they use to hunt with. So could you tell me how many hunting rifles are still available and how many hunters have access to that? That's an excellent question. Unfortunately, we won't be able to hear the answer right now. It could be given perhaps separately. Thank you. Now, Mr. Caputo, you have the floor for 5 minutes.
Minister, through you, Mr. Chair, I'm going to ask Minister short questions. These don't require elaboration, or if you don't know, please just tell us. Please don't ask the officials. Since the Liberal government took power, how much is violent crime up, sir?
Well, I can assure the member that crime overall is generally on the downward trend across Canada.
It's, I'll help you. It's 55%. Again, just a number. What are homicides up since the Liberal government took power?
In the city of Toronto, it's down 51% from this time last year.
That's not what I asked, sir. I asked how much homicides are up. 29% since your government took power. What about sexual assaults? What are they up since your government took power? Just a number, please.
Mr. Caputo, this is not a test. Okay, so let me just suggest that overall, general trend of crime has been going down. Having said that, I think there's a lot of work that we need to do. There are areas that are of concern, and as a government, we're bringing forward legislation to strengthen issues such as bail.
Minister, I asked for numbers. Okay, you are the minister, so with all due respect, we can ask these questions on behalf of Canadians and do it in good faith. What's extortion up since your government took power? Just a number, please.
Again, let me just say that overall, there's some type of crimes that are on the uptick.
330%, Minister. Auto theft. What is that up since your government took power? Just a number, please.
It's down 19% nationwide. It's down 25% in Ontario and 22% in Quebec.
And it's up 25.33% since your government took power. What about hate crimes? MP Lloyd talked to you about that. What are they up since your government took power? Just a number, please.
Hate crime has, since particularly October 7th of 2023, it's been up significantly.
258% in the last 10 years. And you still haven't met with some of the congregations. How about gun crime? Not the last year, the last 10 years. What is it up, Minister? Just a number, please.
Well, let me suggest, Mr. Caputo, if you're serious about ensuring the safety and security of Canadians and addressing issues of gun crimes.
That's not what I asked,
sir. We need to have a holistic approach.
Mr. Caputo.
Careful, please, Mr. Caputo. I'm going to say it in French this time. We are starting to slide a little bit. We have to avoid having an overlap of conversations because then it's impossible for the interpreters to work.
I prosecuted gun crimes on a number of occasions. Please, I understand the impacts of gun crimes. I've looked victims in the eye. Victims who I think will want to know that the minister knows that gun crime has soared 130% since Liberals took office. How about
Mr. Caputo,
no, I'm asking the question here, Minister. This is my time on behalf of Canadians to ask questions, sir. How about in Toronto? Total violent crime. How much is it up since 2015?
Mr. Caputo, I, in my previous role, unfortunately have had to bury a number of young people who lost their lives to gun violence. There isn't a person in this room that will say that gun violence of any form is acceptable. What we need to do here in this Parliament and this committee and across party lines is to have a mature conversation about the impacts of guns.
And I am happy
without
to do
politicizing
that, Minister.
it.
Minister,
and without
we have very limited time. I have one more question for you. Is Toronto safe?
Mr. Caputo, I represent Scarborough, Guildwood, Rouge Park. It is a very safe community. Around the city of Toronto, it is safe. There are incidents that have happened that may appear to make it unsafe, but I can tell you from the Toronto Police Service, homicides are down 51% from last year. Shooting and firearms discharge are down 40% from this time last year. Overall, for example, auto theft are down above 22%.
Mr. Au does need some time. Thank you.
You've got 30 seconds, MP Au.
Minister, as the public safety minister, are you aware of the diversion of so-called safe supply drugs to the black market in BC?
Mr. Au, there are issues that are happening in BC, and a lot of it falls under the jurisdiction of the province, Mr. Au.
Do you know the magnitude of the problem? Do you know how much money flowed into the hands of the criminals?
Mr. Au, the issues around illegal drugs.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but time is up. I will now turn to MP Essassi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minister, I just wanted to revisit the question I previously asked you. I am aware car theft is down 19%, but I would hope that those numbers do improve. And I say this as someone who represents a riding where it has been very, very widespread. Of course, I'm talking about car theft. So as things do proceed, do you see those numbers hopefully improving? Because I'd like to share some good news with my constituents, and anything you could share with us would be very much appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Essassi. And let me just point out a couple of things, right? With respect to the City of Toronto and many of the GTA municipalities, and we've had a chance to work with many of them, the police of jurisdiction are doing a commendable job in addressing a lot of the local issues, including car thefts. Over the years, funding for policing have not kept up with the demands of policing and the evolving nature of what police have to do today, which includes mental health issues around drugs, issues around addictions. And frankly, I think for the last 2 decades or so, we have not been investing in policing. So as, for example, the City of Toronto invests more, we're seeing results coming through. And there is a national strategy on combating car thefts, for example, and we know that the work that we're doing at the border is helping. Bill C-12 will assist as we look at increasing outbound inspections of vehicles that may be going out. Our $1.3 billion investment at the border, the bill that Minister Fraser will be bringing forward on bail reform that will address the issues of repeat violent offenders. It is not just one of these things, it's the culmination of all of this, which I think will seriously dampen the ability of those who are benefiting and profiting off of these type of crimes from being enticed by it.
Say that we've seen an underinvestment over the course of the past 20 years. This is underinvestment by municipalities or by the provinces?
Look, it's very much at the local level. And granted, like even on the federal side, I think probably the commissioner would say we should have been investing more. And the commitment we've made is to be adding 1,000 new RCMP personnel to the federal policing, as well as 1,000 new CBSA officers. But I think there's a growing realization that, especially municipalities, in order to ensure the safety and security of its citizens, do need to invest. And the City of Toronto is a perfect example. I was reading over 500 new officers have been hired. And I think that bodes well, I think, for the security concerns of many of its citizens.
Thank you. I'll be sharing the remainder of my time with MP Khan.
Thank you, Mr. Essassi. So, Minister, in my community of Oakville West, organized crime, including auto theft and home invasions, is a concern for many constituents. I have had numerous conversations at the doors about these incidents, and although there is a decline in the numbers, I always say the crime is not a partisan issue, and even a little crime is still crime. So, Minister, could you please speak to the success of the National Crime Prevention Strategy in addressing these types of organized and violent crimes?
Look, I think the overall issue, and I said this at the outset, is that the general trend towards crime is lower across Canada. Certain types of crimes are still trending up. What's important is that people not just being safe, but also feeling that they're safe. And the responsibility, I think, of government, including, particularly myself, is to make sure that the sense of safety and security is there, which means that we have to bring in measures that strengthen that confidence. And that starts, in part, I think, with the investments I talked about, making sure that both at the CBSA and RCMP level, there's additional resources, there's additional tools for law enforcement across Canada. There's changes to the criminal code, which is the sole responsibility of the federal government, which Minister Fraser will be bringing forward, and he already brought forward C9 in terms of addressing issues around hate, and he will bring forward legislation around bail reform and so on. What I think we need to do is leverage this with making sure that the provinces do their part, and many provinces are. Some are still falling short, so making sure that there's adequate judicial resources, there's adequate training for JPs and judges when it comes to the interpretation of the criminal code, making sure that there's remand facilities that are available at the local level to be able to remand. So that requires both a provincial response, but in terms of men and women in uniform, it's much more of a provincial plus a municipal response.
Sorry to interrupt, Minister. Oui, je vais maintenant me tourner vers Madame de Bellefeuille pour 2 minutes.
And now I will turn to Madame de Bellefeuille for 2.5 minutes. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Minister, I represent a riding in the south of Quebec, Akwesasne, Dundee, and very recently I represented Havelock and Hemmingford. It's a key area where criminals cross the border and bring people across the border as well. We experienced, and we're still experiencing, very difficult situations, and there was a decision made by the CBSA to reduce the overnight hours at 2 border posts at Trout River and Athelston. I wrote you and the minister at the time, and what I heard from the CBSA is that there wasn't enough traffic there, and there were no security parameters that had been analyzed. So do you agree? Do you agree with the fact that we have 2 border posts in a rural, remote area where organized crime likes to bring people over without supervision by border agents? Do you really agree with that decision made by the agency?
The decisions of the agencies, as you know, agencies are at arm's length of government, and they're independent, and they make their own determinations. In this particular case, I understand that the reduction in the hours aligns with the reduction in hours in the United States. So it is always collaborative with the border across the city.
Monsieur le Président, j'ai juste 2 minutes et demie. Tout ce que vous venez me dire.
Sorry, I only have 2.5 minutes. So I know everything that you've just said. It's a decision by both agencies, but I cannot accept that you would tell me I can't do anything because the agency is at arm's length. But that's why in Quebec we require to have a minister in charge of the border, because your responsibilities are the responsibility of an agency, and you do not feel responsible for the agency's decisions. 2 border posts were closed overnight without any supervision. There's the mayor of Elgin, the mayor of Dundee, and the mayor of Hinchinbrook do not understand that decision. And I will tell you that American voters in the state of New York, and I spoke to them too, do not understand that decision either. That doesn't give us a secure border when you don't have service overnight. Don't you agree? I'm so sorry to interrupt you as well, but your 2.5 minutes are up. And I will now give the floor to Mr. Al.
Minister, I want to continue with my question. So do you know the magnitude of the problem that the safer supply drugs are being resold to the criminals?
Mr. Al, I recognize the deep impact of drugs, illegal drugs, including what you're suggesting, which is selling of safe supply, has on communities. It is abhorrent. I've had the chance to meet with many law enforcement, even including
no, again,
in British
Minister,
Columbia.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you know the magnitude? So how many pills are being get into the hands of the criminals? How much money flowed into the hands of the criminals? Do you know that?
Mr. Al, with respect to British Columbia, I do not know that.
Okay. Now, again, do you know that the police chief of London, Mr. Tai Tran, said that the safer supply program are fueling the illegal drug trade? Are you aware of that?
I've had the opportunity to meet with the police services in London. The chief, when I visited there, was not in London, so I wasn't able to meet with him, but I met with his deputies as well as a number of his superintendents. We talked about some of the challenges that they face in their downtown, including
again,
on issues
Minister,
around safe
you know,
supply.
with the time I have to interrupt. So clearly, you do not have the information. So is it not your obligation to be informed?
Mr. Al, I am well aware of the challenges that are faced by our main streets many of our municipalities. I've been working with the fentanyl czar. Even yesterday, I met with the fentanyl czar and several organizations relating to mental health. I have visited many of the downtowns of incidences that you're talking about, and I deeply understand the challenges that we face. It is a culmination of issues that congregate
Okay,
into...
again, sorry for the interruption. Now, this is an article in a medical journal, JAMA. And in this article, it reported that the Safer Supply Program was associated with increased opioid-related hospitalizations, expanded illegal supply, and increased demand of illicit drugs. So are you aware of this report?
I did not personally read that report, no, I did not.
So you are not on top of the issue. So how could...
Mr. Rao, you're showing me a piece of paper. It doesn't, you don't even cite what the article is. You don't cite who the author is. You don't cite who the researcher is. You don't cite with which institution is attached to it, and you're asking me to comment on it.
So is this
I'm telling you that
not
I
your
have
obligation?
not.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. MPL. This is becoming difficult to understand and to follow. You have another 2 minutes and a half.
So is it not your obligation and your responsibility to be informed and be on top of the issues so that Canadians will not suffer from the illegal supply of drugs on the streets?
Mr. Rao, I invite you to go through my itinerary over the last 4.5 months. Every major city, every mid-sized municipality I've visited. I have visited the downtowns. I have visited many of the areas where there are challenges, including on drug use, on fentanyl use, on meth use, and I wholly understand the challenges. Let's not...
No,
let's not question each other's...
political problem.
Mr. Rao,
Sorry.
If I may,
Mr. Minister and MPL, both of you are overlapping, and I understand we want to have a free flow of conversation, but sometimes it becomes impossible to understand and to interpret. So I would ask both of you to make sure we understand.
Yeah, I'm particularly talking about the Safer Supply Program. It's because of the exemption given by your government that these drugs are being flowed into the hands of criminals. More people die of overdose. More young people are being, get into drugs. And the money that flow into the hands of criminals are making the problems even worse. And the Canadians are feeling that they are not being safe in their community. So how could you not take responsibility?
Mr. Rao, you're talking about a program that is run by the provinces. Safe Supply is not that's run by the federal government or authorized by the federal government. It is at the request of the provinces that these programs run. I will take responsibility for a lot of things, Mr. Rao, but I'm not taking responsibility for something that the province is responsible for. What I do want to talk about, if I may, is...
So again, sorry to interrupt, I would pass on the time to my colleague, Mr. Gill.
Unfortunately, there are only 10 seconds left, MP Gill, so I doubt that there will be an answer.
Well, I'll make it very straightforward question here. Do you know the leading cause of death for children in BC?
Look, I think there are a lot of things happening, but I know fentanyl is amongst the top.
Yes, so
I'm
overdose.
sorry to interrupt, but that's all the time we got for that second to last round, which leads me to ask or to invite MP Ramsey to close our witness.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't think we allowed the minister to answer fully the question that was asked about training the 1,000 additional officers for the CBSA and for the RCMP. So I would like to ask Ms. Gorman or Commissioner Duham to tell us more about how the additional 1,000 agents will be trained. Thank you, Mr. Ramsey. Thank you for your question. I would start by saying that we have a senior officer that has been appointed to train all of them. So there's 750 police officers and 250 public service employees who have a specialization, and the training will be the same for the RCMP, because once they graduate, they get a certificate showing that the person has been trained in policing sciences, and that is valid anywhere in Canada. And so for the organization, what are we doing is that we are reviewing the entire curriculum in Regina so that we can have more time providing training online, so that'll help us save about 3 to 4 weeks, and so that'll be more officers who will be brought in, and we can finish the second, third, and fourth year training. So there are a number of, about 150 to 176 officers who have a deal of experience, and that's very good. If they have frontline experience, and they can help us, and they can help train the new officers that are coming on. So if we need a second training center for people, then we'll be able to evaluate that based on who we've hired and how we reviewed the curriculum. But the standard is unchanged.
Monsieur le Ministre, Madame O'Gorman?
Yes, did you want to go ahead, Ms. O'Gorman? Yes, for the CBSA, we expect that 80% of the 1,000 agents will be armed and 20% will be operational employees. That means that they do intelligence, targeting, and training. That's how we've split up the agents, and we have the capacity at Rigaud to train about 250 agents the first 2 years and then 300 on the final year. And we have a pool of 300 qualified people who go to Rigaud within 6 weeks. There's 400 students for this year's cohort, and they are our best candidates for training. So I am not worried about the source of agents, and we'll be working with other departments to make sure that people are operational so that they can do the targeting and intelligence.
People, we have the capacity at the college. In fact, our attrition numbers this year are slightly lower, so our capacity right now is higher than we calculated for. Merci.
Je vous remercie de ces réponses-là. Ça me rassure beaucoup.
Thank you very much for your reassuring answers. You know, really, across the table, it's la la land, and they think that they can hire 800 people overnight. But I'm glad you have a plan. Minister, regarding the project in Cape Breton, and maybe we can get someone else to help you, Mr. Dacalbat can maybe help you answer. But I'd like you to tell us about the proficiency test. You have 30 seconds for your answer. Thank you for your question. Yes, as was stated, we have a pilot project to test the system from A to Z. And we're very happy to see that some people have registered. There have been some requests that have been answered, and now we just have to get them in for an interview so that we can collect the firearms and then pay to buy them back and then destroy those firearms. So the project is going well, and it's just a week old, and we're very happy to see that. With regard to training, etc., it's moving well. Once the pilot project will be done, there will be a public report on what was done and the lessons learned and what the next steps will be. Thank you very much. And that brings our time with you to an end. I would like to thank you on behalf of all of the members here. Thank you all for being here. We truly appreciated and appreciate the work that you did to be here and all that you contributed during the meeting. We will ask you to leave the room fairly quickly, even though we would like to take our time, but it is because we have some housekeeping to do. Thank you.
Alors, pour les autres, pour les députés.
So for others, for members and teams, now I would like to ask 2 administrative questions that should be fairly quick to deal with, I hope. So the first is that the clerk sent us 2 draft or budgets for the following studies. I will suspend for a couple of moments. The budget for the studies that we have been tasked with. The clerk has sent us a document. He needs our approval, $10,000 for managing the border, and then the mandate and responsibilities of the minister, $500. You agree? Okay. The second point that we have to decide on has to do with C8. So we have to decide how we will organize our work in the next weeks.
To coordinate our work, so I would like to hear your views on the number of meetings that we are going to have for that particular bill. Monsieur Ramsey?
Oui, Monsieur le Président, on aimerait déposer une
Yes, Chair, we would like to table a motion in that regard. I can read it if you like. The interpreter doesn't have the motion. It's a motion dated today, is that in relation to the committee's study of Bill C8, the act regarding cybersecurity, that amends the Telecommunications Act and brings correlated modifications to other acts, that the committee take 3 meetings to hear witnesses, including a meeting with the Minister of Public Safety, and that the committee, or that the deadline be Thursday, the 13th of November at noon, and that the committee continue with clause-by-clause examination of Bill C8 on Tuesday, November 18th, 2025, and then spend 2 meetings doing that clause-by-clause examination. I can read it in English if you like.
No? Okay, good.
Can I speak, please?
Mr. Caputo?
Sorry, just one moment, please. Is this a motion that we may be voting on today? Or is this just being put on notice here?
We can be, it's possible to vote on it given the relative urgency of the clerk's work, preparatory work. We are obviously being asked to address C8. So if that is of the view of the committee, we can vote on that on this today.
Okay. Well, the reason I ask clerk is that, or pardon me, clerk, I should have said chair, I'm sorry, is I think some of the committee members took your exhortation to exit literally, so I was beside you. I have concerns about the motion, which I'm not afraid to enumerate. I don't want to speak for Madame. I'm sure will have some points to make on this issue. I have concerns about the timelines. but I also have concerns about the 3 meetings. When you and I have corresponded, Chair, and again, I'm not going to speak for you, Madame de Belfay and I have corresponded. I'm not going to speak for her. But this is I know that this bill went through last time. It is nevertheless a highly technical bill, and it is a bill that requires some scrutiny. The reality is we'd get essentially 1 meeting with the minister, and I presume officials, and then 2 meetings with stakeholders. So if we get 2 meetings with stakeholders, that is literally 4 hours. If we have 2 to 3 stakeholders per session, that is between 8 and 12 people that we will hear from on the cybersecurity bill that is not only highly technical but expansive. A number of organizations have written what I would call op-eds, for instance. They have stated that there are deep concerns. I can tell you right now that on this side, or on the Conservative side of the aisle, I know a number of people would like to participate in committee. At the end of the day, for a bill that is quite consequential, I think that 2 meetings is far too little. The other issue I have with the motion is that we were supposed to have the minister here for 2 hours. The minister was here for 75 minutes. So we need to make up that 45 minutes somehow. And that 45 minutes needs to be made up in a manner that doesn't coincide with simply Bill C-8. The will of this committee was that the minister be here for 2 hours. And not only that, typically, in my experience, when a minister appears, we actually get their officials for the next hour. In this case, the officials were questioned at the same time as the minister. Clearly, we have more questions for the officials. So we haven't really had any time where we could just ask the officials questions. So this motion does not contemplate the additional 45 minutes for the minister. I think obviously we're fine if the minister comes. I take no issue with the minister coming. The minister should be coming. But at the end of the day, we need to have the minister here for the extra 45 minutes, the minister here for C-8. We need to bring in some additional, speakers, in my view. I know that there are a number of law professors, for instance, who take issue with this. There has been, I recently have been receiving mail on this, and I get it.
J'ai récemment reçu du courrier à ce sujet, et nous recevons du courrier à bien des sujets, c'est sûr.
Is everything okay? C'est bon? Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry. So, Mr. Chair, at the end of the day, we need to have time in order for us to appropriately address this. I feel as though the issue of the minister being here for 2 hours, I feel, was set aside. And I also feel as though we have absolutely no plan as to when he's going to get back. Now, Chair, you have said to me that that we have to deal with the minister's schedule. But at the end of the day, we haven't. I don't believe the minister has. I don't believe that the minister has given us alternate dates to make up those 45 minutes. So At the end of the day, I am curious as to when we are going to hear back. I'm happy, as long as I have the floor still. Yeah, we can certainly suspend as long as I still have the floor. Yeah.
So we'll suspend for a few seconds. Or maybe.
All right, so let's resume very quickly to adjourn. It is late, and I think that the consensus is that we need to work a little bit more on the plans of what we will be doing later.